Hey everyone, my name is Jack and I want to go over a 9-step action plan for getting your finances in order. Maybe you're just starting out on your financial journey, or maybe someone else has given you a different perspective and you want to weigh it against someone else's. This video will hopefully help you get off the ground and get rolling towards your goals. Now before we begin, I just want to make sure to emphasize that this is not financial advice, and if you're confused about something or need more guidance, I recommend contacting a licensed financial professional who can help you to get to your ideal strategy. Without further ado, let's get into the 9 steps. Number 1, set your goal. Your goal should serve as motivation throughout the process. Do you want financial independence? Do you want to buy some specific item that you've always wanted ever since you were a kid? Whatever it happens to be, this goal should serve as motivation throughout the process to get through the tough times as well as the good times. Make sure your goal is meaningful. Having a meaningful goal will serve as fuel for the fire throughout this entire process. Number 2, get a high-interest savings account. A high-interest savings account will help your money to at least keep pace with inflation, maybe a little bit less. But having even just 1 or 2% in interest on your savings account is vastly better than having the 0.01 or 0.05% interest that a lot of the big national banks have on their savings and checkings accounts. There are a lot of good high-interest savings accounts out there. I personally use Ally Bank as they're very easy to set up accounts, and I use it to kind of organize a lot of my finances since the accounts are free and offer a few percent in interest, which is a lot better than a lot of the other national banks. Now, of course, Ally is not the only option. There are a ton of different banks online that offer high-yield savings accounts. Be sure whichever one you use to make sure that they are FDIC insured so that if something goes wrong with whatever bank you happen to be using, at least it's insured by the government so your money will grow risk-free rather than having to face a financial collapse with some unreputable bank that for some reason does not have FDIC insurance. Nobody wants that. And also be careful to pick a bank that has good customer service or doesn't have some sort of hidden fee that would take away from the otherwise really nice interest rate. Number 3, create an emergency fund. This is a great use for a high-yield savings account. Ideally, you're not going to be using this account, hopefully ever, but it's good to have it there in case, and at least making some substantial interest while you're not using it. As the name suggests, your emergency account should only be used for emergencies. You should exhaust all of the other options reasonably available to you before you dip into this account, and make sure it is for true emergencies, not something that you just happen to want in a given moment. For example, if all that's between you and death is a hospital bill, go into that emergency account and pay it off. That's obviously an emergency worth dipping into the account. But on the other hand, if you happen to get bumped on the way to work in your car and there's a scratch on the bumper that you won't be able to pay for another couple weeks after you get some more income, then obviously don't dip into the emergency account because that's not an emergency. You can get to work just fine with a scratched bumper and you can wait to buff it out later. Your emergency fund should serve primarily to give you peace of mind so that you know that you can cover any reasonable expenses if they come up surprisingly. If you get fired from your job or you lose a significant source of income, you know that your emergency fund can at least cover it. You should save at least 3 to 6 months of expenses in your emergency fund. That way, if you lose your job or a significant portion of your income, you're able to cover it for some time while you get back up on your feet. Your emergency fund should really be as big as you need to feel comfortable. Now, if you have a $0 emergency fund right now and you feel comfortable, just remind yourself that in the event that you lose your source of income and you can't meet expenses, your next option is to go onto the street. So start building your emergency fund now if you have not already. After you create your emergency fund, the 4th step is to organize your long-term savings. The way I organize my savings accounts is I just have actually a few multiple ones set for different categories. Like I said, Ally offers free accounts, so I kind of abuse it and have multiple different accounts, all with different titles. For example, a vacation account, a restaurants account, and then my normal checking account for groceries and everyday expenses and that sort of thing. I separate out the luxuries and things that I want in other savings accounts rather than having it all mixed up in one big one. This also helps to eliminate the temptation of pulling from your large account when you know that you wanted to budget off some of it towards a specific goal you had in mind. By creating different buckets, you get rid of some of that temptation because you know that money in that account can only be used towards whatever that specific item is. Now, one of the more important buckets you should have is an investment savings account. That is, savings that will eventually be used to invest in other things. This brings me to the fifth step: set up an IRA. An IRA is an individual retirement account, which comes with its own tax advantages as opposed to a regular savings account. An IRA is a place to put your retirement savings for the long haul. You can choose between either a Roth or a traditional IRA. A Roth IRA takes post-tax dollars, and then when you put them in the account, you don't ever pay taxes on them again. On the other hand, a traditional IRA is one where you take pre-tax dollars and put that into the account so that you get a tax deduction the year that you put it in. However, you do pay taxes at the very end when you eventually withdraw once you reach retirement age. Now, the retirement age on an IRA is 59 and a half years. If you want to use the money before this, you have to pay a penalty usually to withdraw it and use it as cash again. The whole point of an IRA is obviously to keep the money in the account until you retire, and you can get some pretty sweet tax benefits in the meantime. IRAs are similar but ultimately separate from 401ks. 401ks are employer-sponsored plans where the employer chooses what funds the 401k invests in. On the other hand, you choose what funds go into your IRA, so it gives you a greater degree of control. Retirement saving can be pretty easy to forget about, so setting up your IRA now, even if you don't have the money to contribute to it, can help you in the long haul, since when you finally start making money, you can contribute to it right away and you'll be well equipped and well on your way towards retirement. Step 6. Set up your investment accounts. This is very similar to setting up your IRA, only these would be your taxable brokerage accounts that you can use to contribute to for other things besides retirement accounts. Now, these accounts can be things like a brokerage account for investing in stocks, an account for investing in notes, or all sorts of other investment vehicles. Having these brokerage accounts set up ahead of time will better equip you for when you have more income coming in and once the rest of your finances are set up. Having the avenues ready to go will make it very easy to drive onto them and start building towards your financial goals. Some common brokerages include Vanguard, Fidelity, Charles Schwab, and on the smaller side, Robinhood, in addition to many others that can allow you to start building your portfolio in a variety of different funds and all sorts of different investment products. If you want to start trading individual stocks, Robinhood is a good option for commission-free stock trading. However, a lot of the larger brokerages are also offering free stock trading because of the disruption that Robinhood caused in the industry. I've included a link in the description that lets you get a free stock for signing up with Robinhood and depositing into your account. You don't have to use them in the long haul, but you might as well take advantage of a free stock. Your investment account should be focused on the long run. Ideally, you want to start building multiple streams of income so that if any one of them goes south, you have other streams of income to rely on. Ideally, you'll have enough streams of income coming in that you'll be able to replace the income that you'd make at your job or whatever it is you do during the day. Now, whatever investment strategy you take, always be conscious of the risk and the fact that an investment might not pan out the way you wanted it to. This is why it's important to diversify your portfolio for the long haul and make sure that you have a well-balanced attack towards your financial goals. Now that you have all of your accounts set up, it's on to step number 7, automating your investing and savings. If you're able to, I'd highly recommend setting up direct deposit so that it splits up your paycheck into multiple accounts so that you don't have the temptation of doing it yourself and not putting in the amount that you should be towards your long-term goals. When you don't automate your savings and investing, it's very tempting to take that money that you would otherwise be saving and using it for something that you don't need, or going out to a very expensive dinner that, again, you probably shouldn't be going to, when you could be putting it towards your long-term goals. When you automate your saving, like by setting up a direct deposit to your long-term savings account, or when you automate your investing by setting up recurring investments each week, every other week, or each month, you take away that temptation so that you're always pushing towards whatever goal it is you might be going for. For your future's sake, take investing out of your hands as much as you can so that you always at least have a baseline amount of progress that you're making each month. This brings me to the 8th step, tracking all of your spending and creating a budget. Saving money is entirely dependent on your grasp of your financial position. You need to know how much money is coming in and how much is going out every single month. Now, once you know what money is coming in and what money is going out, you can identify problem areas to fix. Maybe you're spending a lot on the weekends, going to the bars with your friends. Maybe you're doing other things that you probably could cut out. Whatever it is, If you don't track your spending, you're not going to be able to identify these problem areas to fix in the first place. Always look for sensible cuts to your budget. Reckless spending can set you behind for years if you don't get on top of it right away. Cutting expenses is an instant way to create savings. Discipline is key to racking up your savings rate, and you're never going to know what to cut if you don't track it in the first place. And finally, the 9th step is to start building your credit, or at least paying down debts that you might already have. You can look at it this way. Once you have your own finances in order, you can start looking at how you can better utilize other people's money, which is what debt is after all. Now, if you already have bad debt like high interest credit cards or something like that, not going towards a performing asset or something that's giving you money in return, it's best to pay that off immediately. You can look at it almost like an instant return on your investment. If you're paying 10% in interest on something and you pay it off early, it's like you saved and made a 10% interest rate investment. Once the bad debt is paid off, you'll free up more of your income to use towards other goals rather than be straddled with crippling debt. Now, if you don't already have credit, a great way to start building your credit is to get a basic credit card from a bank. Now, I won't go in depth in this video about how a credit score works, but it's important that you always make your payments on time once you have a credit card. If you already have debt, it is imperative that you keep making payments on time and always meet the minimum payment at the least. Otherwise, your score is going to decrease rapidly. Now, the reason credit is important is because, well, if you want to buy a car, you're probably going to need an auto loan. If you want to buy real estate, you'll probably need a mortgage. If you run a business and you need more capital, you're probably going to go to the bank for a loan. Having good credit is imperative to get all of these. If your credit is bad, you're probably going to get much worse rates, assuming you can get approved at all. So it's best that you start building your credit as soon as you possibly can for the long haul. Those were 9 steps for getting your finances in order. Having a concrete plan ahead of time will hopefully make this whole process that much easier. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like. If you have any questions that went unanswered in this video, feel free to drop a comment below. Until next time, take care.